What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is gonna be your review for Power Book 2, Season 1, Episode 2. So listen, I told you guys last week, I am not gonna consume myself with getting upset or sidetracked on shit that we just know just can't happen. We are gonna just accept it. We're gonna move on. Courtney, I'm just gonna deal with it, okay? But I'm gonna start off this review with Riddle Me This, Batman. And this is something I didn't understand from the last season of Power. If Ghost is that man, Ghost is that dude. Like, I get it that New York is big, and I get it that there are a lot of drug dealers in New York. I got that. I'm fine. I accept that. But if Ghost was just that dude, he was the man. He was that dude. And y'all trying to convince me that Mary J. Blige is just that chick, and she's so on top of her shit, and she's so in tune and sees what's going on, and she ride or die, and she, like, how the fuck she don't know who Tariq is? Alright, so let's move on. So we start this episode off with, we got Tasha meeting with Method Man and his investigator, and they're questioning her on this whole Queen Pin thing, trying to figure out what do they have, can they really pin this on you, is it legit? And, you know, they start questioning her, and, you know, she lets them know, listen, I didn't call no shots, I wasn't in charge of nothing. And the investigator was like, yeah, but your name is on a lot of shit. And she was like, listen, my name might have been on some stuff, but I wasn't running nothing. I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't running nothing, okay? I was just a wife. And, you know, the investigator ain't buying it. The investigator is like, she's lying. She's lying through her teeth. You need to drop this case now, yesterday. Method Man, he wants it because, see, he's looking at the long term. Win, lose, or draw, this is a case for him. Like Tariq told him last week, this is a career-making case. Like, he seems to already have a reputation and be that dude. But this is something that'll take him into another level, a federal case with such a large, you know, profile attached to it. His thing is, I think really that's what it is. Yeah, he wants to win, but there's really no downside for him in losing this case, especially if he's being set up by the feds or whatever. I mean, she is, I should say. So, you know, basically Tasha is like, listen, you know, she tried to throw it on Tommy. We know that. Of course, Tommy's gone. He's, you know, he's in the wind. And he was like, so did you know this whole connection, like, before all of this? And she was like, listen, I ain't think it was that. I ain't think it mattered. Like, this was on a whole different case. Like, I didn't think who my husband was, because she confirmed that he was Ghost. She said, I didn't know that who my husband was the issue. Like, so there was that. So then we have Tariq talking to, what's his name? Zeke, his roommate. And dude is fresh, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, Tariq is trying to come up with the money to continue to pay the lawyer. And he's like, listen, how you keep coming up with all this, you know, brand new clothes, fresh gear? I'm old. Fresh gear. And, he was like, he said, I thought basketball players couldn't work. You know, like, how you have so much money? And he said, listen, my aunt keep me fresh. You know what I'm saying? My aunt keep me laid out. Talking about Mary J. Blige. You know, she keeps me laid out, so that I don't have to worry about nothing. And, you know, you just need to make sure that you do what you have to do to get me off academic probation. Because he's already on academic probation. Tariq's supposed to be getting him off of academic probation. So he gives him his paper on Moby Dick. And, on Moby Dick. And he's like, listen, read that paper, because they have the same academic advisor, that the black lady. And he was like, listen, you know she be asking a lot of questions. So you need to at least read the paper and know what the hell the paper say. Like, I know you ain't read the book, but you need to at least know what the paper say. He's like, I got you. You know he ain't gonna read that. Hell, he probably can't read, but that's another story for another day. So Tariq shows up for class late. And of course the professor, what's his name? Kareem, Karabu, Kanishiwa. Anyway, he ain't here for it. Like, he already wasn't really feeling Tariq. Like, Tariq won him over temporarily, but, you know, for real, he really wasn't. Kabari. Is it Jabari? It's one of them names. He wasn't really here for Tariq to begin with. So you coming late to his class. Now they're talking about Great Expectations. Tariq ass ain't finished reading that book either, child. Listen, get the podcast, get the Audible, download that shit or something, Tariq. Like, I'm gonna need you to keep up. And of course he gets called out. His new little girlfriend, he ends up getting called out, and she didn't realize she's calling him out. She's really trying to banter with him and trying to, like, bring him into the conversation, because the class had already started. And it sort of exposed him as far as him not having the as far as him not having read the book. And he calls him out or whatever, and he lets him know, listen, I told you this class was gonna be a lot. If you can't handle it, you need to go ahead and drop it now. But like, you're not gonna keep coming late, and you're not gonna keep not being ready for class. And she was like, you know, of course she was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to blow up your spot. He was like, nah, you good, it's my fault. Again, y'all know Tariq listen, Tariq is the king of code switch. He knows how to code switch. So he was like, it's okay, it's not your fault, it's really mine. I wasn't ready for class. Like, he listen, we may not like a lot of things about Tariq, but that's the one thing that boy know how to do. He know how to blip, 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 blip. So then he gets a text from Davis, aka Method Man, and he's like, listen, first of all, where's my money? Second of all, he actually didn't ask for the money first. He was actually asking him about his mother's case first. And of course Tariq said the same thing Tasha said, like, I didn't tell you about Tommy and all that because I didn't think it mattered. Like, I didn't think it was relevant. I didn't think it was connected. And he was like, listen, you need to give me my money and you need to stop lying. I need to know everything about everything. And then he says, and you know what, the best thing for your mother's case right now is for us to make your dad look like the worst, you know, the worst monster in the world. And Tariq was like, okay, what am I supposed to do about that? He was like, well, you need to deliver his eulogy at the funeral tomorrow, and you need to basically dog him out. Now, I'm thinking to myself, who does that? Like, who gives a eulogy at a funeral? And I don't care who that person is, ain't nobody gonna dog the person out. Like, I ain't never seen no shit like that. But okay, all right. So Tariq is like, I can't just dog my dad out, you know. So then he runs into, you know, his friend on campus, you know, white boy, and he's inviting him to a frat party. He was like, listen, you know, my brother's the president of the frat. He's an asshole, but he's my brother. It's a party. It's gonna be a, you know, upperclassman. You know how he is. And then he was like, yo, Tariq, like, what's up? Like, man, you need to get on. You know, I missed that money we was making at show. Like, what's up? And of course, Tariq was like, he said, you know, I had fun at the strip club the other night. And Tariq was like, yeah, nah, we're not doing that. And he was like, well, what you mean? And he was like, I know that's what that was about, us going to the strip club. I know that was a drug deal. Like, I ain't stupid. And Tariq was like, nah, that's not what it is. You know, we good. We not gonna be getting into none of that. He was like, yo, we can make a killing. Tariq was like, nah, it's cool. And he ends up getting a text from Zeke. I'm just gonna say his name is Zeke. His roommate, because earlier he had asked his roommate could he come and have dinner. He was going to his aunt's house, aka Mary J. Blige, for dinner. And he was like, well, he was like, yeah, you know. So he sent him a text saying it's cool, you can come to dinner. You know, because you know Tariq is on one. He trying to get close to her because, you know, Tariq trying to get to the real money, the money. Now, while this is going on, Mary J. Blige is laid up in the bed with, guess who? The police officer, the dude that showed up last week when they was having a little disturbance. Remember, I told y'all that it was something with the police officer, but I thought she was just paying him off. I thought maybe they just had a little arrangement and she was hitting him with a little payola. I didn't know she was hitting him with the payola and the woo-woo-woo. I didn't know he was doing that either. I didn't know all that was going on. And he's like, and she's like putting her wedding ring back on, and he was like, why would you do that? You know, when are you going to let that go? Like, he's not getting out of jail. And she was like, listen, that's my man, that's my husband, and you know, you can't do for me what he can do for me. She said his name still commands respect on these streets. And until you can do what he can do for me, it's like, this ain't never gonna go no further. And then she got a text or looked at the time and saw that her son was on his way back home, and she was like, you really gotta get out of here before he get home. Like, he don't need to see you here. So she's having a little secret affair with the popo. So then we see Zeke go and meet up with his advisor, you know, the professor, the black lady, and she was like, you know, talking to him. Of course, she asked him questions about the paper. She know his ass. She know he ain't write that paper because she even said, and Tariq is helping you, right? And Tariq said, Patrick, he was like, yeah, you know, that's. And she starts asking him questions, and he was like, I don't know, we just roommates. Like, we don't hang out. I don't know that dude like that. And come to find out, when she found out that the funeral was the next day, she was like, well, yeah. He was like, yeah, well, you know, his dad's funeral is tomorrow, and I think he's just dealing with a lot of family stuff, and you know. So now she gets this bright idea. She wants to reach out to him, you know, and she's really like, like, I feel like she's treating Tariq like a charity case, and she's really doing a lot. Like, we're going to see later on in the episode, she is doing way too much. I'm going to need her to bring that thing back, because I'm not sure why she's taking such a big interest in Tariq and what Tariq got going on, but okay. So then we see Tariq meet up with so then Tariq meets up with is it Sheldon? The guy that now that he's part owner of the club with, because Tasha made that deal for him to get in the Stansfield. And he's telling him, look, he said two important things came out of that whole situation. One was the whole he was telling him a little bit more about his dad and how his dad was always in conflict, like his moral compass was always in conflict with his ambition. He was like, and I kept trying to tell him it was the same thing, but he always was in conflict with himself. And Tariq was like, wow, I never thought of him like that. I never thought of it like that. And he was like, yeah, well, also, I need you to not trash your dad at the funeral. I need you to do the exact opposite. Because right now, his reputation is starting to take a little bit of a hit, which in the long run is going to hurt you, because I'm going to be all right, but our business ventures that we have together are going to suffer. And so I need you to get up there and talk about how great your dad was and how wonderful of a person he was, because in the long run, it's going to hurt your portfolio, not mine. And so, of course, now Tariq has these people pulling on him from two different directions. Now, on the legal side, let me just go ahead and knock this whole legal thing out. On the legal side, we've got, you know, Method Man he figured out the political side of this. He figured out that all this was a political setup so that they could take the heat off of James, off of St. Patrick, off of Ghost, and put it on Tasha so that to try to keep Ghost's reputation intact, because the DNC got their hand in it. Then the flip side of that, we see Mock shit. Y'all know what I'm talking about. God darn, why I can't think of that man's name now. Shoot. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We see them telling him, listen, you got to make this case stick. Like, she handed it to you in court when she said that she ordered Tommy to kill her husband. Like, you're good. And he keeps trying to Stacks. He keeps trying to tell them, like, you know good and damn well she ain't no killer. Like, you know this isn't who she is. And they were like, we really don't care. We're just trying to, like, just put a ball in this and don't fuck it up. And so he tries to get the investigator to help him. The investigator that worked under that black FBI agent that got killed. And at first, dude wasn't trying to do it until he found out who the lawyer was. And when he found out who the lawyer was, and he was like, oh, yeah, nah, okay, I got you. I'm with you. So again, that lets you know that Method Man's reputation, not so great. We see Tariq meet up with his mom, and she's telling him it's going to be okay. Like, don't worry about it. She was like, what is it that you want to, because he's telling her about everybody wants me to do something different. And she was like, well, what is it that you want to do? And he was like, I don't know. Like, I want to do what's going to be best for you. But at the same time, we looking for the future. We also looking to the future. And so she tells him, listen, Tariq, you do what's best for you. Like, you have to do what you feel comfortable with doing. Because at the end of the day, you killed this man and you got to give a eulogy. So like nobody is taking, I don't think anyone is weighing in the fact that has to do a eulogy for the father that he killed. You know what I'm saying? Then Tasha asked him about opening up the daycare, because they got talking cold. And she was like, did you open up that daycare after I told you not to? And he was like, nah, I got it under control. Because of course she's trying to figure out how he's got the money. Because she thought the guy that owned the clubs was paying for the lawyer. And Method Man was like, yeah, no, your son is paying me. So they end up going to court because the Method Man files a motion to get the whole thing thrown out or whatever, saying that it was a setup, and that they basically, that Sachs purposely got the DA to offer Tasha this deal to set her up so that she would say something incriminating so they could get her on a queen pin charge. And it almost worked. Like the judge was like, because they called the DA, and the DA was pissed off for what Sachs did. So the DA basically confirmed what Method Man said happened, and the judge was almost getting ready to throw that shit out. Who did Sachs call as a witness? That damn Blanca. But Blanca's pissed at Sachs too. So because Sachs limited her to just yes or no answers, it made it look bad, and it made it look like she, that Tasha was killed Terry. They brought up her ex-boyfriend. They brought up Terry. They brought that whole thing up. But Blanca was like, we know good and damn well she didn't kill Terry. Like, we know she didn't kill him. It looked bad. She knew where the body was, but we know she didn't kill him. So the judge ended up ruling against Method Man and, not dropping the charges. But what she told Sachs, though, was, but you on a short string. Because I do believe that there was some shenanigans. There was some fool-la-la going on. So you're on a very short leash, sir. But she kept but she kept it intact. But then Blanca went up to Method Man and told Method Man, she said, listen, when this goes to court, you call me as a witness, because Sachs is dirty as fuck. You know what I mean? And so of course, so that's so that'll come back into play. So then we see Malik meeting with his guidance counselor again. This woman, like I told y'all, she got a lot going on. And she's trying to get him to talk about his feelings and what's going on with his dad and the funeral and the court case and stuff. And he was just like, y'all know Tariq. Tariq was like, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm good. So then Tariq ends up leaving because he's on his way over to Mary J. Blige's house for dinner, child. So she ends up going into Jabari's, to his office and telling him, Malik is really, we're gonna have a candlelight vigil for Malik tomorrow night. And he was like, yeah, no, that's not a good idea. And she was like, what do you mean it's not a good idea? He was like, that's not a good idea. And she said, but I know he's going through some things and he just won't talk to me about it. And he was like, then you need to respect that. Like, if somebody doesn't want to share something with you about their life, you need to respect that. And she was like, oh, like you did? So come to find out, when they was dating, he took stories about her life, or took her life as a whole, and he created, he wrote a book about it. And so it seems like that's what broke them up. And she was like, well, I don't really want to talk about this. And he was like, well, if you didn't want to talk about it, why did you help me get this job? So she didn't help him get the job at the same college, honey. And so they end up having sex, child. They end up having sex right there in the office. Now, we see later on, we see her talking to, oh, they alive. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. Later on, we see them talking. We see her talking to a counselor or a therapist. Apparently, she has a sex addiction, and she is going through the steps. And so, her having sex with him was not a good thing. It was going to start some stuff back up. Now, he thinks it's probably a step in reconciliation. And her therapist told her, listen, you got to cut it out. You need to stop messing with him now, immediately. Don't be alone with him again. Don't talk to him again. Don't do it. Girl, run. Don't walk, run. So, she got some issues. She seems like she got a lot going on. And that's why I say this whole thing with her obsession with Tariq and trying to be there for him, it just ain't that healthy. It's not that healthy. So, we're at Mary J. Blige's house, honey. We having dinner. Dinner's cool. Tariq is doing his best, rich boy conversation. And, Zeke is there, and we see him flirting with the cousin. But they flirting but not flirting kind of thing. And there's a knock on the door. And who come rolling in? The uncle. Uncle that they ain't seen or heard from in a minute, right? So Uncle Frank come rolling in there, and Mary J. Blige is immediately suspicious. Mary J. Blige is like, listen, what you doing here? Why are you here? And I think her name on the show was like Mona or something like that, child. He was like, she said, you ain't supposed to be out for a couple of years. He was like, well, I got out early. She was like, on what? I know it wasn't good behavior. He was like, oh, nah. He was like, but nah, I got out. So then he starts asking her, can she hook him up? Can she get him a package? His name ain't good on the streets anymore. And he was like, I know Fernando be keeping you good. Basically talking business. So she immediately ends dinner, puts him out, tells, there's another brother, tells him, you go give your Uncle Frank a ride. And tells King, her ride or die, the dude that they killed the dude last week, tells him to take Tariq back to school, right? Now, Zeke been drinking, so she said, Zeke, you don't go nowhere because your ass is drunk. Go on, sit on that couch and go to sleep. Now, Uncle Frank had started kind of flirting with the daughter a little bit. And the only reason why I say that is because that becomes important a little bit later on. So they on their way back to school, and King pulls over. King, whatever. He pulls over, and he got his gun with him and everything. And he basically is threatening Tariq, like, you know, you ain't see nothing, you ain't say nothing, you going back to school, you don't know nothing. And Tariq was like, whatever, like, dude, like, it ain't even got to be all this. Like, you don't have to threaten me, you don't have to play this act. He was like, I ain't gonna say nothing, I didn't see nothing, I ain't gonna say nothing. He said, but the person you really need to be worried about is your uncle. And he was like, yo, don't be talking about my uncle. He said, your uncle's a snitch. He said, your uncle is a snitch. He was like, first of all, don't nobody get out early and you don't know nothing about it. He was like, if they gonna be back on the streets, they know they're gonna be back on the streets. And the fact that he came in there trying to talk business, trying to get your mama to say something that she ain't supposed to say, yeah, he's a snitch. You need to handle it. So he was like, you know, of course, he looking at Tariq like, that actually makes a lot of sense. Tariq was like, listen, I ain't the one you got to worry about. You don't have to worry about me. We good. Now, can we go back to school? Like, can you take me back to school? Like, you know, that's that code switch, because he went hood real quick on him. He went straight hood real quick on him, and it wasn't really nothing he could say like, oh yeah, you're right. So they end up having the damn candlelight visual, and when Tariq gets back to school, he walks up on it, and of course there's paparazzi there, and people are immediately in his face, and you know, the professor's there, Jabari shows up, because you know, he knows it's not a good idea, but he rolls up on it, and Tariq is looking around like, what the fuck is this? Because of course, ain't nobody invite him to the visual. Like, he ain't know nothing about it. And she gonna come up to him talking about something. It's not too late if you want to say some words. Tariq was like, and so what happens is white boy is there, his boy, and he rolls up and he's like, yo, Tariq, you want to go to the party? Like, let's get out of here. Let's go to the party. He's like, yo, let's go. So Tariq ends up leaving the visual, and Jabari just give her a look like, I told you so. Like, I tried to tell you this wasn't a good idea. Now back to the Mary J. Blige house. Mary J. Blige is talking to her daughter, and she was like, yo, your Uncle Frank was kind of feeling you. I saw him flirting with you a little bit. You need to start paying attention to stuff like that. You need to start figuring out how you can use your assets for the greater good. And I was like, is she about to pimp her daughter out? Is she about to pimp her daughter out? So that whole conversation was a little, like, I felt kind of fucked up, because I felt like that's exactly what she was going to do if she had to. So just at that moment, King comes back, and at the same time, because Mary J. Blige figured out that he was a snitch, so she led the girl to figure it out. She kept giving her breadcrumbs, so she figured it out. And just at that moment, King came in and was like, yo, Uncle Frank's a snitch. And they said it at the same time. And she looked at him and she was like, how'd you figure it out? And he was like, Tariq figured it out. She said, Tariq? She said, how'd Tariq figure it out? And so he was like, yo, he just, he did. He said, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And she was like, okay. She said, what do we know about this kid, Tariq? So she goes to Zeke, and she tells Zeke, she said, listen, what do you know about Tariq? He was like, I don't know nothing about Tariq. He's just my roommate. She said, was it your idea or his idea to come to dinner? He was like, he asked if he could come. She was like, mm-hmm. She said, I tell you what. She said, you better get to know him and get to know him well. I want to know everything about this Tariq. And that's when I was sitting there trying to figure out, how in the hell do you not know who Tariq St. Patrick is with Ghost and his... Like, I don't know how you don't know this stuff. Anyway, whatever. At least know who he is. Like, I understand you may not be able to make all of those connections, but how you not know nothing? Anyway, child. So at the frat party, they give us a white privilege moment, and this wasn't even just a white privilege. This is a rich white privilege moment. The police get called. I mean, it's a whole party, and police get called. Campus police tell them to shut the party down and do like what's the face's brother, who he said was the head of the frat, but he was an asshole, but he was the head of the frat. He's talking to the police like they shit. He was like, y'all not even real police officers. He was like, this is my house. And he was like, it's not your house. Your frat leases this from the school, so it's the school's house. Like, it's not your house. And he was like, whatever. He was like, just, go on about your business, toy cops. And he ends up punching the cop in the mouth. So they get ready to arrest him. So so the little brother rolls up on him and is like, I apologize, officer, for my brother. I know he's an asshole, but is there anything we can do about it? And he drops his name. And she was like, as in, like, the building named after? And he was like, yeah, and the swimming pool. So if there's anything we could do to just make this all go away. And so they immediately take the handcuffs off the brother, and all the police leave, and the party starts back up. And Tariq is just sitting by. So he's sitting there like, you know how Tariq, he's observing everything. He's observing the whole thing, right? So back at the jail, Tasha overhears a conversation between an inmate and a security guard who had been kind of giving her a little hard time. Not real bad, but just talking a lot of shit to her. And the inmate is telling her, listen, you need to give me the morning after pill. Like, I need it within the next, 48 hours because I need to take it. And she was like, who you in here? Who you riding anyway up in here? She was like, don't you worry about all that. Just know that I need that morning after pill. So, but Tasha overhears it, right? Okay, so, So that's, okay, so let's get to the other thing that is just utterly ridiculous, right? So we're at the funeral, and of course the funeral has turned into a whole spectacle, and Grandma shows up, and Grandma's like, Tariq, why are you spending this kind of money on the funeral, and we barely getting by? He was like, I ain't pay for this. Simon, that's his name. Simon, done paid for the damn funeral, and guess who done rolled up at the funeral? Tate ass. Shaking hands and kissing babies, being the fake ass that he is. And guess who else rose up at the funeral? Tasha. Listen, let me tell y'all something. Now, I don't know everything about everything, and I certainly didn't go to nobody's law school, and I damn sure ain't nobody's judge. But I ain't never heard of an inmate being allowed to attend the funeral of the person that they are being accused of killing. I ain't never heard that. Now, it'd be different if she was in there for a different crime, and they gave her permission to come to her husband's funeral. But you are accused of killing him. But they gonna let you come to the funeral and in regular clothes and get a eulogy? Child, I said, I ain't never seen such a thing. Anyway, but Tasha ends up not giving the eulogy because, of course, now they made her put the handcuffs on, so it wasn't gonna be a good look, with her with the handcuffs and all that stuff. So Tariq says, I'll do the eulogy, and he actually did a really good job because the uncle, I don't know if y'all remember, Colonel Taylor, Glenn Thurman, y'all know what I'm talking about. Remember him from last season, the uncle, ghost uncle who Tariq never knew. And he had a conversation with Tariq, and once again, he reminded Tariq that, hey, you just like your dad. So Tariq keeps getting these, you're just like your dad. But when they give him the example, he realizes, wow, I am a lot like my father. Like realizing, seeing that everything wasn't as black and white with ghosts, right? So he ends up giving the eulogy. And he says, listen, some people want me to, tear my father up. Some people want me to praise my father. But at the end of the day, it's not a black and white thing. My father was not a black and white person. He wasn't a perfect person. He was complex. He was different. He, didn't always make the right decisions, but he loved his family, and he tried to be a good person. And I think you did a good job with the eulogy, especially since you killed him. Anyway, so as the funeral is over, Tasha tells Tariq, I need a morning after pill. Give me the morning after pill. So Keenan, whatever that boy name is, Mary J. Blige's son, he ends up killing Uncle Frank. And not only does he kill Uncle Frank, he dismembers Uncle Frank, right? Uncle Frank will never be found again. Now, the police officer friend of Mary J. Blige, he rolls over to the house to bring her a gift, bring her some liquor, and bring her the papers showing her that Uncle Frank is a snitch. And she was like, you a day late and a dollar short. I already know that. She didn't tell him, he already took care of it, but basically, I already took care of this. Like, you a day late and a dollar short, And he was like, yeah, but she said, did you know this? Like, why wouldn't you tell me this? He said, if I knew, don't you think I would have told you? Like, I wouldn't have left you hanging like that. If I knew, I would have told you when I found out. And he was just like, she was just like, all right, whatever. But see, that's why I can't let go of my husband, because you don't have my back like I need you to have my back. Like, what if I had said something to him? What if I had tried to make a deal, a transaction with him? I'd be stuck right now. You a day late and a dollar short. And the son actually drove by and saw the cop. Because, of course, when he rolled up and he saw the cop in front of his house, he was like, oh, shit. Because, he just got finished killing his uncle and cutting the body up and stuff. And he saw the daddy go in there. I mean, he saw the cop go in there with the envelope and with a bottle of liquor. So, I don't know if he done put two and two together or what. But he just kind of was like, okay. But he kept driving. So, the daughter ends up going to visit Tariq, Mary J. Blige's daughter. Remember, she had told her, listen, you a little flirty. You know what I'm saying? You a pretty girl. You need to learn how to use it. So she goes to visit Tariq, and they go to talk or whatever. And Tariq tries her gangster a little bit. Tariq says, my mom needs to get the pill. She needs a morning after pill. And she goes back and lets her mother know that that's what they need. And she says, Mary J. Blige said, okay, I can make that happen. And next thing you know, Tasha got a book with not only the morning after pill, but the cell phone. And of course, the first thing she does is call Tariq. And she was like, Tariq, how did you do this? How did you get this? And he was like, I'm handling things, Mom. I got everything under control. And of course, she is like, Tariq, you are playing with fire. Like, I need you to, like, chill out. I need you to chill out, but of course, like I said, he, Tariq, he will act like he got everything under control. So that's pretty much what it is for this episode. I know this ran long, but y'all know how these shows go. It's so much going on, and you try to get everything in, and I'm sure I missed something. Even with all this, I'm sure I missed something. But anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.